As the prideful hunter is daydreaming, the troops of heresy inquisitors capture him and decide to lock him up. Hanbin and Aisei are surprised at how he was the one to clear the dungeon. Hanbin thought he would turn into a complete monster. A member of the heresy inquisitors apologizes to them for the Dark Brotherhood's behavior. When Ice inquires about what would happen to Loud, the Inquisitor keeps the location undisclosed, but mentions his friend will be imprisoned and investigated thoroughly. They will verify his testimony, and if there are no problems, he will be released. While Hanbin prefers Loud to rot in the cell, the mage is glad that the prideful hunter will be free soon. Though he doesn't genuinely hate him, because things turned out okay thanks to his intervention. The Dark Brother decides to compensate for not letting him sell his magic stone and writes a check in the name of Benister, assuming Hanbin is a country bumpkin who doesn't have a bank. Before handing him the check, he asks for Hanbin's signature. Hanbin recalls his mother's advice to not sign something carelessly. When he shows signs of nervousness, the Dark Brotherhood assures him that they don't use underhanded tricks, though no promises can be made about the Order of Light. He hands him something to look at once the signing is done, and then leaves. Hanbin goes blank for a moment and turns to Aisei for a favor. At the Empress Hunters Guild, the receptionist, Siguri, apologizes to Berkerman because his party didn't get the notice. Moreover, the Guild Master of Empress has run away, and Siguri appears to be taking the blame for his share too. Being a kind man, the tank reassures her that it's not her fault that the Guildmaster ran away and understands that everyone must have been busy. He finds it amazing that she is still protecting this place. Meanwhile, Amber, who has just returned after selling all her magic stones, brings up that the Guild's entire fund only has 5 coins left. She explains that the Guildmaster ran off with all the money and knew that Berkman's party wouldn't sit still, which is why he never bothered notifying them. She's devastated, but he, in contrast, is savouring the beer he received from the Guild. She shouts at him for drinking at a time like this. She thinks their future as hunters is finished, since the Guild is destroyed, and is worried about how they'll make money moving forward. He brings up how 20 years ago he stubbornly proclaimed to protect the village back when there wasn't even a guild or dungeon. She recalls the moment and mentions having saved him more than 100 times. Entering his romantic mode, he insists that it doesn't matter if there's a guild or not, because since the day he met her, his heart has never changed. She mentions that this is the reason she's still single. But upon realizing her words, she starts stuttering and tries to think of a way to explain herself. In the heat of the moment, he makes a romantic move, but Hubert interrupts and nearly gets injured by Amber's coin attack. She seems angry for some reason and suggests they continue their talk after the party. Quite scared, Berkman agrees to follow her lead. While they relish their moment of peace and free will, someone approaches through the guild's main entrance. Ice appears from the door carrying Hanbin's bag. He asks for help before collapsing. Later, when he wakes up, he gives Hanbin his flowers for carrying such a heavy bag. Berkman is surprised to see him carrying Hanbin's bag, wondering where the actual man rushed off to. Irwin reveals that the material inside is not there. Even Aisei doesn't know where he is. The only thing he knows is he is doing this as a favor to him. Amber checks out the bag and finds some money inside it. The money appears to be in 10 bags of 1000X. Berkman has many questions, but even if he sold everything, the money Eric's friend has delivered exceeds the market price. Ice gives the tank Hanbin's hunter badge, signifying that he has retired. The tank wants him to speak if he knows the reason for his exit. However, he only gave Ice this information, but had an expression of fear on his face. Flashback shows the Dark Brotherhood showed him the official badge of Great Earth, who were believed to have been wiped out by 4 heroes 20 years ago. Hanbin pretends to not know what it is. The Inquisitor is sure that a level 5 like him wouldn't know anything about it. But in case a level 5 like him, though it would be an impossibility, becomes an otherworlder and recognizes them, then he would want him to remember that story he narrated. At present, Hanbin is frustrated and thinks that he doesn't have a single good thing going on. He looks around and finds some thugs staring at him. Back at the Hunter Guild of Empress City, everyone is startled by his sudden exit. Hubert is angry at him because he didn't come to talk to them. He thinks they should have at least tried to convince him to stay, but Berkman quickly shuts him down. He reminds him that their work requires them to put their lives on the line. Therefore, they shouldn't pressure someone to risk the same. Berkman asks to let Hanbin know he's more than welcome to take over as their bad boy whenever he wants. He agrees to pass on this message. Inside, he thinks that he doesn't know what Hanbin's reasons are, but he feels a little jealous seeing some people care about him. Meanwhile, Hanbin finds himself tied to a chair. He opens his eyes to some thugs and wonders where he is. One thug comments that he's never seen him before and figures he must be a hunter. The thug says that he has heard Hanbin has broken the arms and legs of his men. Moreover, he slept in their territory and ruined their stuff. The culprit apologizes for the damage done to his men, but points out that it was their arms and legs that broke when they hit him, not the other way around. And since he didn't have anywhere to sleep, he just slept in an abandoned house that he found. The other thugs are surprised over how a person's body can be as strong as a wall. They are convinced Hanbin is using some kind of magic. He reveals he doesn't use magic, encouraging thugs to even test magic on him. If the thug boss is not tempted to hit him, just like the thugs behind, does that make him a chicken? When they refuse to admit to saying something this outrageous, he calls them liars. Enraged, one of the thugs punches him in the face. However, this doesn't end well for the thug as his hand gets broken. Since he has ignited the flame by fighting the thug's boss, he wonders how he will be able to break out of there. The thugs are playing a guessing game and trying to guess his profession. Hanbin feels it would be easy to break out of his situation, but he knows nothing good will come from creating a bigger mess. The thug chairman soon arrives, irritated that only one hunter was caught. Unlike the others, Hanbin doesn't show fear. He even calls the man a dog, which enrages him. Surprisingly, the chairman recognizes that Hanbin is from Rock Mountain, likely because of his bad temper. Instead of punishing him, he orders his men to release Hanbin, saying if he really wanted to, he could have killed them all already. Hanbin is shocked at this turn of events. The chairman then makes an offer. He'll reveal how he knows about Rock Mountain, but only if Hanbin agrees to work for him. 6 months later, after the dungeon near Enres City's eastern castle wall disappeared, Hanbin is working under the Onpra Builders Association. Bandits under the association forcibly collect belongings from residents, from furniture to cookware. One family resists, but the husband's attempt to fight back ends in futility. Hanbin, wielding overwhelming strength, casually shatters the man's defenses and demolishes their home with a single strike. To their shock, the bald foreman explains that this is part of the association's citywide project, demolishing old, fragile houses and replacing them with new ones built with castle-grade stone reinforced by golem magic and coated with slime extract to repel monsters. Families receive sturdy, noble-quality homes, but under strict conditions. During emergencies, soldiers may occupy the houses, and homeowners must assist in maintaining the city wall. The husband realizes he had been too drunk when this was first explained to him and apologizes, ashamed for pointing his sword at Hanbin. Though the family gratefully offers him a meal, Hanbin refuses and grows restless. His emotions spiral when the bald man mocks him as weird. Haunted by past encounters with the Heresy Inquisitors and the Dark Brotherhood, Hanbin briefly loses control, nearly striking a child before regaining his senses. He leaves in shame. Despite his struggles, Hanbin has earned a reputation across builder associations, finishing month-long tasks in a single day and receiving a staggering 600x per commission, more than a mid-level hunter makes. Still, no one dares to befriend him. Frustrated, Hanbin storms back to the chairman, slamming his door open and demanding answers. He accuses the association of strange schemes, pointing to the sudden appearance of massive new structures. The chairman dismisses his outburst, saying there's no point in explaining to someone who doesn't talk. After all, his own son believes Hanbin is mute. Enraged, Hanbin smashes a table with his bare hands, demanding to know the truth. The chairman finally responds, explaining that 40 years ago, both natives and otherworlders lived normal lives side by side. Hanbin realizes this man has known about him all along. The chairman presses further, asking why Hanbin hides, eats in secret, and avoids people. Hanbin assumes it's because he's an otherworlder, but the chairman disagrees. Being an otherworlder doesn't make one an outcast. Most work regular jobs, and their technology and culture have even been integrated into society. It's only those who obsess over hunting and power that draw attention. If Hanbin truly wants peace, he should avoid hunters altogether and live like a normal person. But then comes a twist. The chairman reveals Hanbin has one last exclusive commission, one specifically requested for him. At first, Hanbin refuses, but the chairman points to the door, where someone insists otherwise. To Hanbin's surprise, it's Atis, his old companion. Covered head to toe, Atis explains he had no choice but to track Hanbin down, since everyone in the city already knows about him. Though Hanbin wants to keep others out of his mess, Atis pleads his case. The chairman, however, slams the table in anger, refusing to hand Hanbin over. To him, Hanbin belongs to the Builders Association, making him one of their family. The chairman assumes Atis came on guild orders to drag Hanbin back, which he takes as an insult. But Atis clarifies, this is his personal favor, not the guild's. The guild has nothing to do with this. He reminds Hanbin that back in the dungeon, Hanbin once shielded him when he was discovered, even though they were in different parties. The chairman doesn't fully get the explanation, especially when Atis admits he was naked at the time. While imagining the worst, the chairman mutters he gets it, leading Hanbin to protest against the misunderstanding. The chairman only calls him a scoundrel. Atisi then brings up what truly weighs on Hanbin, the fallout with Lode. Before leaving the city, Hanbin had been in a tough spot and even delivered a 1,000,000 check to the guild before quitting. The entire room goes silent until the chairman himself explodes, kicking Hanbin out and shouting that if he's a man, he should take responsibility. He warns him not to come back without finishing the job. To Hanbin's frustration, Atise looks relieved, since this effectively allows Hanbin to join him. Though Hanbin argues it's been 5 months since he quit, Atise reminds him of the request: collect samples from the Sada forest. He reassures him it won't be too dangerous and promises to protect him if needed, asking him to drop the formal speech. Later, in the forest, Hanbin wonders why Atise chose him specifically. He recalls the chairman's advice: act normal and no one will suspect anything. On the way, he finds a small monster called a Kellogg and tries playing with it, only to get bitten. Atise reacts instantly, burning the creature with fire magic and tending to Hanbin's arm with potion, though the bite left no damage thanks to his tough skin. Atise then shows him a sample vial, asking him to report if he finds similar materials. Hanbin, suspicious, wonders if his friend has blue blood, a way of asking if he's not entirely human. Their exploration continues, though Atise keeps scorching everything in their path. Hanbin tries forbidding him from using fire, but Atise insists it's under control. Along the way, he opens up about his past. His first guild party was Loudy's, but things were too awkward, so he went solo. It was his first time camping out too. Hanbin asks why he even joined the guild, and Atise explains he thought it'd be fun to collect materials firsthand, though rich mages can level up through research alone. Laughing, Hanbin teases him with, how can a dragon hunt dragons at home? Atise admits he doesn't follow his family business and reveals dragons are nearly extinct. Curious, Hanbin asks why, but Atise doesn't know, only that dragons were terrifying, colossal, mana-fueled, capable of speech, and leveling up endlessly with every foe they defeated. Hanbin muses that maybe surviving in solitude is better than dying out. He even claims to know a wyvern that could talk, but chose secrecy. Atise bursts out laughing, thinking it's a joke. He then shifts the topic. Has Hanbin thought of being a hunter again? Hanbin refuses, saying he couldn't face Berkman or the party's leader after what happened. Atise admits he's forming his own party and wants Hanbin to join. Hanbin doubts him, asking why he was chosen when he could just run away again. Atise reassures him he won't pry into his secrets, but Hanbin flips the suspicion back. How can a mage use magic without chanting? The tension spikes as Hanbin grips his sword and Atise charges a spell. Suddenly, Atise fires a mana bullet that narrowly misses Hanbin's face, striking a beast behind him. It suffocates as the spell ignites its lungs. Hanbin, shocked, realizes the creature could have warned others. He admits Atise is far sharper than the mages from Berkman's party. His quick judgment and precision prove he's on a different level. Hanbin had thought Atise was just a delicate young master who stayed home doing research. Atise, however, was thinking it would be nice if he could persuade Hanbin to join his party, but now wasn't the time. He tells Hanbin to open the monster's stomach while he checks the net. He explains that monsters, which normally avoid humans, have recently started attacking openly. To Hanbin, this isn't strange at all. His friend just burned everything in sight. Hanbin then examines the monster Atise had dropped earlier. It's a level 21 kobold, the kind usually found only inside dungeons. Atise snaps at him for not listening properly and orders him to cut its stomach open. When night falls, the two stealthily approach a nearby village to observe the kobolds. They see two standing guard in a tower and the rest spread across the village, though the darkness makes it hard to see clearly. Inside the kobold's stomach, they discover a human finger, evidence that these creatures have begun eating people. Hanbin wonders if a new dungeon has appeared, but Atise explains that can't be true. If it had, the Empress herself would have noticed the shift in the land. If not a dungeon, then why are dungeon monsters here? Hanbin suggests returning to the guild to report, but Atise spots someone bound and hanging in the village through a monocular. He wants to rush in, but Hanbin stops him, suspecting the man is already dead. Suddenly, one of the kobolds in the tower is struck by a mana arrow. Atise reveals his weapon, a device that shoots magic stones engraved with spells. Without hesitation, he dashes toward the kobolds, telling Hanbin to stay back. Hanbin checks the hanging man and confirms he's already dead. The village burns as Atise fights, realizing the kobolds have likely occupied the place for half a year. Some try to ambush him from inside a building, proving they're far more intelligent than expected. He wipes them out with fire, but in the process strains his wand. A spear-wielding kobold nearly gets him, but Atise distracts it with his broken wand and finishes it with another. Hanbin arrives, impressed. Compared to this, the fire Atise used earlier in the forest was nothing. But then they realized the real horror. The hanging man wasn't killed by kobolds. He was frozen to death. Worse, he was a level 27 hunter from Onra, his badge still intact. Hanbin stresses another one, revealing he found many badges scattered near the village ruins. That means multiple hunters disappeared here, one by one, without the guild noticing. He concludes that this place must be where hunters are being lured and killed. Atise connects the timeline to the Afen Plains dungeon. Laude cleared 6 months ago, but that dungeon lies between here and Onris, far away. While he's puzzling it out, Hanbin discovers a sealed portal inside a well. Judging by the floating debris, it was forcibly closed. Atise explains that kobolds couldn't have created this. Such magic requires a level 40 space mage, and since the distance to Afen Plains is huge, it would more likely need someone level 60 or higher. Hanbin grows uneasy, asking, what if the person who made this portal turns out to be an enemy? At that moment, a lich appears, an undead sorcerer who once was a magician. The creature regenerates as it walks toward them, mocking them with snide remarks. He studies the burned mana traces and points directly at Atise as the culprit, but surprisingly he doesn't notice Hanbin at all. Hanbin senses something is off. Atise explains that as an undead, the lich lost his human senses, but can still perceive mana flow. Since Hanbin isn't a mage, he's invisible to the lich's detection. Atise urges him to escape, but Hanbin refuses to abandon him. Before they can act, an ice bullet slams into Hanbin. The lich, speaking in the plural, scolds them for ignoring his questions. Then, in a chilling moment, an eye opens in his hollow skull socket, and finally the monster is able to see Hanbin. Hanbin, only grazed by the lich's earlier attack, brushes it off and tells Atise to stay focused on the enemy. After feeling the strength of the blow, though, Hanbin realizes that at his current level, Atise may not be able to defeat such a monster alone. The lich, meanwhile, rambles oddly about married couples, recalling a memory from his former human life. He explains that his co-worker once told him marriage meant walking the same path, looking in the same direction. He muses that he was impressed by the idea, and that's why he brought James and Catalia together as a couple, perhaps co-workers of his before death. He even admits he may have been rejected by Catalia before she and James got together. But while the undead reminisces, Atis fires off a magic attack. The Lich casually blocks it with ice magic and grows irritated. They aren't even listening to him. Hanbin, confused, notices Atis's aim seems strange. Atisi explains that the Lich is redirecting his mana mid-flight, altering its trajectory. The monster mocks them, saying Atisi doesn't have enough output to even ignite a spark against him. He enjoys watching prey struggle, so he decides to toy with them a while longer. Atisi isn't done, though. He throws a magic stone into his spell, triggering a hidden blast. The Lich is briefly caught off guard when the attack actually lands. Hanbin is shocked. How did that work? Atisi explains that the Lich had been guarding only against pure mana, not physical magic stones. The explosion chains together with built-up mana, pinning the undead in place temporarily. Atise yells for Hanbin to run, and they both retreat toward the forest where ambient mana can help hide them. As they flee, Hanbin suddenly senses something wrong. He shoves Atisi aside just in time, saving him from falling into a dome of ice. Inside, snow piles unnaturally, an eerie prison of frozen death. Atise thanks Hanbin for saving him, but warns they can't linger. Otherwise, they'll end up like the hunter they found earlier. He tries to melt the snow with fire magic, but the flames freeze instantly. Horrified, he explains that the Lich lowered the temperature of mana itself. Fire and ice mana, usually in conflict, are now tilted in ice's favour. The Lich sneers, calling his explanation a lecture, and then casts a freezing storm. The air drops to unbearable cold. Hanbin can handle it thanks to his stats, but Atis is struggling badly, nearly collapsing. The Lich taunts them, asking how it feels as their mana circulation slows and freezes. He explains that when victims lose consciousness like this, the pain fades, and he fully intends to draw it out for Atis. Hanbin clenches his fists. He knows the Lich is planning to torment Atis to death. If Atis loses consciousness, Hanbin could finally unleash his full strength without exposing his secret too soon, but he doesn't want things to go that far. Atis, pale and barely standing, apologizes to Hanbin for being selfish. Suddenly, he casts magic on himself, sending raw energy surging through his body. The pain is immediate and unbearable. He screams as it tears through him, but he endures it. Hanbin stares, confused and horrified. Why would he do that to himself? The Lich begins laughing, fascinated by the mage's resolve. He admits he's impressed, but doubts Atis can keep it up for long. Knowing this may be their last chance, Atis grits his teeth through the agony and tells Hanbin, "Watch closely, pay attention."